Live, this is Lunchtime Agenda.
G'day, welcome to Lunchtime Agenda. I'm David Lipson. Breaking news this half hour that WA Liberal Luke Simpkins has reportedly announced that he will move a spill against the Prime Minister. This is the move that we have been waiting for several weeks now. The pressure has built over particularly the last few days because up until this point there has been no official declaration, no challenger to the Prime Ministership of Tony Abbott. Now, Luke Simpkins's move will be seen not as a direct challenge for him to take over the leadership of the Liberal Party and therefore the Prime Ministership, but will be seen more as a stalking horse move to allow room for other contenders like Malcolm Turnbull, Julie Bishop, Scott Morrison to throw their hats in the ring. The latest information that we have in terms of the numbers, in terms of the front runners in such a leadership spill are that Malcolm Turnbull seems to very much be the front runner in this contest. That means that we will obviously see the numbers come to a head on Tuesday, most likely, when the joint party room meets, and that's when the numbers would be counted. So that means that any contender who throws their hat into the ring as well as Luke Simpkins will actually be able to gather the numbers over the next few days up until Tuesday. Now, we've also today seen, well, speculation on the leadership go into overdrive after the Leader of the House, Christopher Pyne, the man who actually counts the coalition numbers for legislation in the House of Representatives, well, he was asked about the leadership on breakfast television. He couldn't say if Tony Abbott still had the majority support of his party. This was Christopher Pyne this morning.
Sky News is reporting 3 federal government ministers believe there will be a vote next week. Do you believe there will be a vote in the Liberal Party room next week?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there could be a vote every Tuesday because we have a party meeting and people could move a motion or the leader could say that there should be a motion. I don't know whether there'll be a vote.
Does he have the numbers?
That's a very inexact science, but I hope he does, yes.
Then on Sky News, he sought to actually clarify those comments when he appeared with Kieran Gilbert a little later in the morning. I think we've got those comments from Christopher Pyne for you as well.
The media appear to have completely overreacted to what I regarded as entirely unremarkable comments. Obviously, my position is totally unchanged. I don't believe that there should be a spill motion on Tuesday. I don't believe Tony Abbott should be replaced as leader of the Liberal Party. I believe we have the right team in the right positions right across the cabinet and the government, and that they should remain in place.
Well, joining me now for more on this breaking news is the Liberal MP Fiona Scott, also Labor MP Andrew Giles. First, of course, to you, Fiona Scott, a reaction to this news that it's on.
Look, this is the first I've seen this walking in here this afternoon, but for me, my focus is completely the people of Western Sydney. That is what I'm working on, and so far as a government we've delivered for the people of Western Sydney. So for me, I'm completely focused on doing the job and getting out there and working as hard as I can.
Who will you vote for in a leadership spill? Does Tony Abbott have your backing?
Look, I support the Prime Minister and I support the team that has delivered $3.6 billion worth of infrastructure that will start to get our region moving. So that is where my focus is. My focus is how I can best serve the people of Lindsay.
But when you say you support the Prime Minister, do you mean the Prime Minister Tony Abbott, because his leadership now very much up in the air?
Look, I support the Prime Minister. I think we've got to support the team that the people elected, and I support that team. I support the team that has been focused on delivering infrastructure and projects, the free trade agreement that will see the University of Western Sydney take place, with a memorandum of understanding with the Beijing University of Chinese Medicine. That's a $170 billion industry. It's going to create massive jobs for the people in Western Sydney. We have 180 to 220,000 job deficit west of Parramatta. matter. These are the things that are important, and this is what we need to focus on. We need to focus on governing. We need to focus on delivering for the people that elected us.
We understand that all coalition MPs actually received an email advising them that this spill would be moved, declaring the leadership positions open. Have you received that email?
I haven't seen it. I was out at a green care project before coming here today, so I haven't seen that as yet. So I can't clarify whether I've received it or not, but as I said, I was out at Ropes Creek before I came here to Sky News.
Okay, I believe we have that email for you now. We can put it on your screen now. Dear colleagues, in the last 2 weeks, I've been inundated with emails and walk-ins to my electorate office, all questioning the direction the government is being led in. The knighthood issue was for many the final proof of a disconnection with the people. These contacts have come from many people that I personally know and are firm supporters. In some cases, they are both booth workers as well. The last time this outpouring of concern happened was when we were being led to support the Rudd government's ETS, and faced with this erosion of our base support, we acted. I think that we must bring this to a head and test the support of the leadership in the party room. I've therefore submitted to the Chief Government Whip a motion to spill the leadership positions of the Federal Parliamentary Liberal Party. The spill motion should be considered via a secret ballot as the first item of business in our party room meeting, which, as I mentioned, is being held on Tuesday. The motion was seconded by Don Randall, who shares the same views as myself. I look forward to your support in this matter. It gives you all an opportunity to either endorse the Prime Minister or to seek a new direction. As I've said in the past, I have no front bench ambitions. I just want to make sure that the economic vandals do not get back into power and our children and grandchildren are not left to pay Labor's bill. I do this because I believe it's in the best interests of the party and our country. So that's the email from the Member of Parliament in WA, Luke Simpkins. Fiona Scott, can you give us a sense about how you think Tony Abbott has been doing? Because we see that from that email, the sorts of criticism that is being heard at several electorate offices. Yeah. What about yours? Yours is a marginal seat. You must have heard some feedback about the Prime Minister.
Look, my electorate is an interesting place, and the Prime Minister in fact lived and worked in my electorate, so there is quite a lot of support for people who have known the Prime Minister personally for a very long period of time. Look, I think it goes without saying there have been challenges that I think as a government may not have handled as well as we could have. The Prime Minister has said himself that the knighting of Prince Philip was possibly not necessarily the best decision, but at the end of the day, I think the focus...
And have you heard that sort of feedback from your constituents as well?
Oh, we've had a couple of people make that comment, and I myself didn't necessarily think that was possibly the best use of the knighthood. But at the same token, what we are focused on and what I'm focused on is that we have come down the road with some really great policy, some policy decisions that are actually making inroads for the people of Western Sydney. And, you know, I find it disappointing that we are focused on all these leadership challenges and that this is where the dialogue is. I mean, yesterday I was out at the University of Western Sydney. I was at Penrith Council with Julie Bishop, a meeting that we'd had arranged for quite a few months now. And we were talking about the free trade agreements. We were talking about a new science park, a 256-hectare science park with the opportunity to build 25,000 jobs. This is what we need to focus on.
That's all very well, but now, obviously, we're all talking about who will be the leader of this country, the Prime Minister. That is going to be settled on Tuesday as a result of the actions of your party. So the issues, although very important like that, must be sort of seen through the framework of who's going to be leader, who's going to carry on with the policies. And in relation to that, can I ask you, what is your opinion when it comes to direct action, when it comes to an emissions trading scheme? Because Malcolm Turnbull, who is considered to be a frontrunner, even though he has not yet thrown his hat in the ring, he, well, in the past has certainly pushed very hard for an emissions trading scheme, but has backed away somewhat from that. What's your view of Malcolm Turnbull and the position of the party when it comes to climate change?
Look, I have a very good relationship with Malcolm, and Malcolm has been out to my electorate many times and has been very supportive. I have 7 new property developments in my electorate. The connection with fibre, be it through NBN or other contractors, has been a crucial relationship between my electorate office to actually support the people in my community. The Cumberland Plain woodland is a critically endangered habitat. It has 6% of its bushland left. Where I was before coming here today was at a Greening Australia, who were doing environmental work, a $20,000 grant by the federal government to rehabilitate the bushland that is Ropes Creek. Now, these are part of the direct action plans. Direct action will see $15 million invested into the Cumberland Plain woodland, $7.5 million towards connectivity to actually allow the flora and fauna to actually maintain a corridor to really rehabilitate our natural scrub. It will also have many Green Army projects, which I'm actually working with some Indigenous organisations. So in many ways, for me, the Green Army is a triple bottom line. We'll have the social outcomes of working with some of our most disadvantaged people in our community, and Andrew and I have served together on the Indigenous rights, the Indigenous so
you want to see the direct action policy continued?
Oh, absolutely, because the direct action policy for the people of Lindsay, not only will it provide connectivity of the bushland, it'll rehabilitate a critically endangered habitat. It'll also put together armies that will rehabilitate our creek systems, so South Creek and Ropes Creek, into the Durban lands, which is Aboriginal lands, working with the land councils, but then providing training and employment opportunities for our Aboriginal community. And Western Sydney is in fact one of the largest Aboriginal communities in the country. So look, the direct action plan is very, very good, and it has massive benefits for the people of Lindsay.
All right, well, joining me now here in the studio is our political editor, David Spears. David, the news has happened. It's on. What are you hearing?
Well, just testing now to get some reaction on whether there is going to be a candidate, Malcolm Turnbull, Julie Bishop, anybody else. No one yet has actually confirmed that they will contest. But of course, for that to happen, there has to be a spill. Now, at this stage, this is the first big step, the first domino to fall. But there is still, of course, a series more that are required. The spill motion has to succeed. Now, by that, it doesn't technically, well, technically, yes, it does have to be 50% of the party room. The way this will work on Tuesday is that Luke Simpkins will move this spill motion, Don Randall will second it, and then it goes to a vote. Now, the recent couple of leadership ballots, as far as I'm aware, have been secret ballots. And that's an important point. And those
this one will be as well. Okay. He made that clear in his email. Yeah.
So if this will be a secret ballot, then and from there, technically, you need 52 votes, 50% of the party room for that to succeed. However, I think if you had anywhere really above 20 supporting a leadership spill in that ballot, that would be, well, it'd be untenable for Tony Abbott to say no to it. I think the pressure will now be on the Prime Minister, because I know there will be more over the coming hours backing this leadership spill. The pressure will be on him just to say, OK, look, let's have a spill. Yep. Now, I know yesterday, and even this morning, he was saying he doesn't expect there to be one. But now that some are going public on top of those who had already gone public on the backbench, the pressure will be on the Prime Minister to simply say, OK, let's have a spill, clear this up once and for all.
And does this free Malcolm Turnbull, Julie Bishop, others up to start canvassing votes?
It absolutely. Well, if it's still a difficult position that they are in. They must make the decision this afternoon whether they are now going to be actively canvassing votes or whether they're going to step back and back the Prime Minister in this. Now, because there is still a possibility that Tony Abbott could win a leadership vote if there is a spill, as I expect there will be. If there is a spill, Tony Abbott may still win that, and the judgment call then for any contender has to be, is it worth contesting and losing and wounding Tony Abbott and indeed the government in the process, with a view to a longer-term strategy, perhaps of a two-time attack, as so often happens on both sides of politics in bringing down a leader. That's what has to be weighed at the moment.
There has now been a response from the Chief Government Whip, Philip Ruddock, who has, in an email sent out to his colleagues, said, "Dear colleagues, I've received notice of motion from Luke Simpkins, seconded by Don Randall, proposing, quote, that the Liberal Party room resolve via secret ballot that the senior positions of the Federal Parliamentary Liberal Party be declared vacant," end quote. The Prime Minister has indicated this motion will be listed for discussion at the Liberal Party meeting on Tuesday. And he goes on to suggest that they can contact the Whip's clerk if they have any more questions. So that is obviously confirmation from the Chief Government Whip, the man who does round up the party in all matters relating to government, confirming that this will be happening on Tuesday.
So just to be clear on that, just bring that up for me again. He's saying that the Prime Minister has indicated this motion will be listed for discussion. Now, that doesn't, of course, say that there will be a spill. The motion for a spill will be listed for discussion. I was speculating earlier, depending on what happens in the coming hours, the number of people who perhaps declare publicly their support for a spill, it may become the case that the Prime Minister then has to say at some point, yes, there will be a spill. Otherwise, there will be this motion voted on in the party room on Tuesday. Now, the outcome of that is uncertain, but as I was saying earlier, even if it's not 50% of the party room, if it was 20, or 30 or thereabouts, I do think that would be so damaging for Tony Abbott that he would have to agree to have a spill in any event. So what happens in the next few hours will be very important. A lot of MPs, front benches, back benches, were actually saying earlier in the week that Friday would be the day that this would come to a head. Now it has. That we would know on Friday whether there was going to be a contest. Now, at this stage, we know there's going to be a motion for a spill. I would expect by the end of today we will know whether or not there is actually going to be another candidate, i.e. Malcolm Turnbull, most likely, with his hand in the air contesting this. Julie Bishop and Malcolm Turnbull have both been very careful in their language all week, and particularly overnight for Malcolm Turnbull and this morning for Julie Bishop. They have at no stage ruled out contesting an open ballot if there is a spill.
And nor have they offered any advice to their colleagues when it comes to what they should do in relation to bringing on a spill. And we saw that again with Julie Bishop, the Deputy Leader of the Liberal Party and Foreign Minister. She was asked if she had any advice for her, those agitating for a spill. She said no. They're members of Parliament elected by the people. They can do essentially whatever they want.
And I thought that was a really telling moment, that whole media conference there in Adelaide with Christopher Pyne and Simon Birmingham. The Julie Bishop very clearly was saying it's up to MPs to do what they want. I'm not going to tell them what to do, and I'm not going to rule out running, but ruled out challenging. In fact, I think we have a little of it here. Let's just recap what the Foreign Minister, the Deputy Leader, did say this morning on this.
I don't have any advice to my colleagues because they are elected members of Parliament and they will take whatever action they see fit. But my overall message is this. We are a united team and we can achieve a great deal as a team. Christopher, with the greatest respect, doesn't have a crystal ball, right. And we cannot say what one of the 102 members of the Liberal Party will seek to do. Now, I can't read people's minds, but what I can say is I'm not campaigning for the job of Prime Minister, I'm not contacting the backbench seeking their support, and I'm not counting numbers.
Let me just bring back in Fiona Scott for your thoughts on that. I mean, Julie Bishop certainly not urging MPs against moving a spill or backing a spill. Do you think she should have?
Look, I was with Julie yesterday and you know what, she didn't lobby me in any way, shape or form about any of these things, and I absolutely corroborate exactly what Julie had said. She's not contacting backbenchers, and to be honest with you, all of this is speculative, and I'm not going to get into speculation. I'm not. You guys are the media. It's your job to speculate and to commentate on these things. I'm not a commentator.
No, but fair enough. But I'm just wondering whether you would expect the Deputy Leader to urge MPs not to move a spill against the Leader. Would you expect that?
You know what? All I can deal with is the real world. And I was with Julie yesterday, and Julie was not in any way, at all, in any way, behaving in that manner. So, you know, from my experience of the deputy leader, she has been a tremendous deputy leader to many different leaders, and
loyal, do you think?
Very loyal, and very loyal. She's been a unifying force to the young women that have come into the party. She has been so supportive to all of us, and you know, I think this speculation on Julie is unfounded, and frankly, it's unfair. I mean, yesterday I was with Julie. We were having a coffee, talking to people in Westfield Penrith, and at the same time, one of the Sydney media guys was out there saying that she was having secret meetings with Malcolm Turnbull. Well, and that she was on a water taxi. Well, I've never seen a water taxi up the middle of Westfield Penrith, and we weren't anywhere near the river. So, look, there is so much speculation here. I think we really should take the deputy leader at her word, and as somebody who spent a lot of time with her yesterday at various different functions, she has been honourable. She is an honourable woman, and I think we should respect that, and there's been nothing in her past as the leader where she has acted in any other way. And you know what, I think that's...
Can I ask you this, Fiona, and I appreciate the strong defence there of Julie Bishop and her loyalty. Can I ask you, putting her to one side, over the last week or so, have you fielded calls, without naming them, but have you fielded calls from colleagues discussing this issue, even lobbying you one way or another?
I haven't, but I've actually had a really busy week in my own electorate. I had the Treasurer out on Friday last week, and then Julie yesterday. We've got big work going on with the free trade agreement. I have one of the fastest growing regions in the country, and this has swallowed all of my time. I haven't... My staff and myself have been completely focused on delivering for the community, and that is where my headspace is at. That is where my office's headspace is at. How other people, and I mean, yes, I do watch the news, I do see what's going on. How other MPs are running their offices and what they're engaging in is a matter for them. But for me, I've come back from Christmas and New Year and had a lot of work going on in my actual electorate. My local council, which my electorate is basically the same as Penrith City Council, has big meetings with the Mayor of West Beijing coming up, and there's a lot of work going on between all of those organisations. So my focus is completely on my electorate, and that is where we need to all focus. And as a Member of Parliament, I'm elected by the people of Lindsay, and that is who I focus on.
What about Christopher Pyne's interview this morning on the Nine Network, which he later clarified, where he was asked directly if Tony Abbott has the numbers, would have the numbers in the party room if there was a spill? He said he couldn't say. Now, this is the Leader of the House. In terms of legislation and business in Parliament, he counts the numbers for the coalition. He couldn't say whether the Prime Minister had them. What did you make of those comments from Christopher Pyne this morning?
Look, I think that's more for you guys to speculate on, and we'll leave that to you. I haven't been lobbied, so I'm not getting into that debate. So I haven't seen that behaviour. I'm not going down that line, and it's not helpful. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys will be able to ring other MPs, and probably will do the ring around to see where that actually sits. But look, I'm not... Look, I take Christopher at his word, and Christopher did clarify later what he was saying.
Yeah, he certainly did, and he blamed it on the early morning. He said it was 6 in the morning, and perhaps he was a little more tired than he normally was. But he did later come on Sky to say that he does not think that there should be a spill, that he supports the Prime Minister.
Yes, he did.
And the like. So
can I ask you, Fiona Scott? All of this isn't just about, of course, who the leader is, whether it should be Tony Abbott or someone else. You've got to weigh up. I'm sure MPs are. What policy direction you go in. Do you feel there are areas that need fixing when it comes to the government's policy mix at the moment?
Look, I think a lot of people would say that we probably should do better with communicating our message, and we possibly have not been as clear as we could have. I myself have been working hard within my electorate. I have come on Sky a few times, but at the same time we do need to look at the free trade agreement. I mean, it's a free trade agreement, but what does that mean to jobs? What does that mean to people in the community? I have this wonderful announcement of that, which, as I've said today, the Memorandum of Understanding with the University of Western Sydney. Now, there's 2 employment parks that it could link, Downhevet Business Park and Warrington Business Park. There's 6,000 jobs each. Baiada are looking at a 256 hectare site. That is another 25,000 jobs that they're looking at. Now, the free trade agreement actually links these pieces together. For overflowing with the deregulation of the university sector, it allows Sydney Uni and the University of Western Sydney to actually really engage and compete on an international level. So there's various policies here that are really excellent policies, but I don't think we've probably communicated it to our communities as well as we can. Now, as local members, that is all our responsibility to do that. For me, I hold regular roundtables. Yesterday with the Foreign Affairs Minister, I held a roundtable with my Medicare Local, my hospital, Sydney Uni, Sydney Uni, University of Western Sydney, my Penrith Business Alliance, who are doing all the work on the regional city program and the investment into China, and then of course Penrith Council. So how you engage right across your community is significant. So look, I think that's a matter of local members.
Communicating you've identified, there is a big part of it, no doubt. But when it comes to things like the GP co-payment, when it comes to higher education reform, you're happy to stick with those, rather unpopular budget measures?
Well, in regard to the higher education reforms, Barney Glover, who is the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Western Sydney, and Peter Shugold, who is the Chancellor of the University of Western Sydney, they have both been very supportive of the deregulation. Now, 41,000 students that go to the University of Western Sydney is actually quite significant. I am also an alumni of that university, so I understand that university. Now, we don't have a university at this point in time that is in the top 10 or 20 most competitive universities in the world. Now, higher ed, or education, sorry, is our 3rd biggest export. We need to be exporting, we need to export more universities. We need our universities to be globally competitive. So
stick with the reforms is what you're saying?
Look, we need to work with our reforms, and we need to get our reforms to be able to also communicate it through the Senate. We need to be able to get them through the Senate. We need to have the greater community understand how these reforms will actually be helpful and how these reforms will create jobs. They'll make our education sector more globally competitive, and these are great reforms, and I can't for a second to Christopher Pyne, who is the Minister heading up the higher ed reforms. I mean, my university, as in the University of Western Sydney, whose Chancellery is in my electorate, they have been extensively engaged with. Now, for me, my job is to look after the people of Lindsay. So to be able to then sit down with the Chancellor, the Vice-Chancellor and other members of the university to really understand what is going to be the best for the university in my electorate, that is my job as a local member. And that is what I've been doing.
Just to be clear, there's no actual policy problem that you're getting feedback on that you think really needs to be jettisoned or seriously amended?
Well, for me, I don't have an issue with the higher ed legislation. There are bits...
GP co-payment?
Okay, well, with the GP co-payment, you also have to look at the $20 billion medical research fund that would go in with that. Now, medical research is a huge opportunity. We're now looking out in Western Sydney, a free trade agreement with the Beijing University of Medical Research. It's the biggest complementary university in the world. And what have we done? On the day of the free trade agreement, we signed an agreement with this university that opens up Western Sydney to go in with a way of understanding what are the actives that are actually working in Chinese medicines, then to be able to apply a technique of commercialising these drugs, synthesising what those active ingredients are and manufacturing to a Western standard. We could create 25,000 jobs in the south of my electorate, where the Baiada Business Park is, a 256 hectare site. This is an organisation, one of the biggest agribusinesses in the country, that has gone to Seattle. They've gone to Nashville to actually research how high-tech parks work. So when you look at these reforms as a package, you can actually see some really excellent pieces that come together with them.
Fiona Scott, appreciate this is all broken while you've been on a already pre-scheduled interview with us. So we do thank you for talking through from your perspective what's going on right now. It's very fluid, but thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
So, yeah, I mean, some sympathy there for Fiona Scott. Not easy when that happens right in the middle of an interview.
No, she did very well. She had no warning of that, and neither did we.
And to recap, she is strongly backing Tony Abbott, a strong supporter of the Prime Minister in all of this. But it is, of course, what's come out of the West this afternoon from two MPs backing a spill. We're yet to hear any others publicly endorse this. But of course, we are hitting the phones, the text messages going back and forth to work out just